morning, everyone, and welcome to another Heart to Heart with me. Today I'm going to share with you a little bit about what are we worth, what is prestige, and loneliness. I hope you stay tuned because I'm going to share with you parts of my life I don't really think I shared before. Everybody, and welcome back. Today I'm going to share with you a part of my life, and I'm going to share with you what loneliness can do to people. I'm going to share with you a story that somebody shared with me this week and how it brought a lot of feelings to surface of my own. I shared a story this week about somebody who has a job that I would consider very prestigious. They had a job and they worked many years at that job, and actually, if you know what kind of line of work they did, you would think, wow, that is a very high esteemed job. Wow, can you imagine that? But they were telling me how they worked, and they worked really hard, and they had this high level job, would be in my thinking, but they were very lonely inside, and they would go at night to bed very lonely. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about loneliness and how loneliness can affect us in different ways. Many people are lonely because of a loss of a loved one, and they are actually alone. But there are many people that are lonely even when they're in the midst of lots of people. Maybe they seem like they're very outgoing, but yet they're very lonely. And that was me. You see, I grew up and got married at age 17 and never finished high school. And so my life was pretty much consisted of my home, farm life, and being a wife and a mother. My extended family lived a different lifestyle than me, and I don't talk much about them. A lot of people have asked me, well, do I have siblings, and about my siblings, and they ask me, do they watch my videos? Do they talk to me on my channel? And I'm going to share with you a little bit something I've never shared with you in these 4 years, simply because when I talk about my channel, I talk about things that affect me. And I talk about things that are my perspectives. And so I really don't talk a lot about other people who are a part of my life, other than my children and my husband. Siblings live a different lifestyle than I do. And I would say they live a more of extravagant lifestyle. In fact, I would say they live very extravagant compared to how I live. Now, my parents always had enough of money. My parents were affluent, what you would call affluent in those days, but they weren't big spenders. Now, we were able to do things that the majority of people weren't able to do at the time. We did a lot of traveling. As you know, my parents were friends with missionaries, and we traveled a lot of countries. We traveled to Jamaica and to Haiti, and my parents have been all over the world. But my siblings, they live a different world than I live in, and so things are very different. When we always got together, I always felt sad when we left because I really wasn't involved in much of the talk of the family. We would all get together and they would share their stories of shopping at places I've never even heard of, or they would talk about going to trips, and they would talk about all kinds of extraordinarily different things than I would do. They talked a lot about traveling to other places and fancy restaurants and hotels and motels, and they would talk about different things like that. And I was a mother that lived more of a plain lifestyle. That's how my husband was raised. My siblings don't take after the plain lifestyle that I do. I was the last child of the adopted child, and so I was a sponge, and I just soaked everything up. And so things my mama taught me, I do today. What you see me doing, a lot of things my mama did, like hanging the wash on the line and living a very frugal lifestyle. Even though they were able to do things, she lived a very frugal lifestyle. My mother didn't spend the money, and so they had money to do certain things, but they didn't live extravagant. And so for me, I had children, and so I would get together with all of my family members, and we would, sit in a circle, and they would all talk about things, and I couldn't be included in the conversation. And I don't blame them one bit, because what do you say to somebody like me who is totally opposite of them? So it's a totally opposite world. But I remember many times coming home crying because I felt so lonely. I felt so like not worth anything. And that is my feelings. And I want you to know, when I share things on my channel, I'm sharing my perspective. Whether they're a right perspective or a wrong perspective, they're my perspective. You know, and these are my feelings. And so I know what it's like to be lonely, even though you have family and you have friends and you have a spouse and you have all of these things. Loneliness can affect us in different ways. And so even though I realized, you know, that they weren't doing it to be mean, they just had nothing in common with me. There was nothing really to say. They would say, oh, how's the garden growing? And I would say, it's doing really well. And I would go into some detail about it, but then I saw they were very distracted by it. They weren't that interested in it, and so I stopped talking about it. And that is how loneliness can be. And loneliness is a feeling when you feel like nobody understands you. You feel like nobody understands your thoughts and your life. And I think that's why YouTube has been such a blessing to me, because I started my YouTube channel and it was like there was a whole new world out there who people understood. And I wasn't lonely anymore, to be honest with you. YouTube has really helped me not be so lonely. It's helped my speech. I know through the years, the longer I'm talking on YouTube, the more fluent I'm becoming with my speech, the less pauses I'm making. I'm just becoming more self-assertive of myself. And that is because I'm being heard and listened to. And as a child, being an adopted child, I was so different than my family. I was so different than my mama. I was so different. My mama was very reserved and very stern. My mother was the kind of woman that she said it once and you listened. I was outgoing and loud and boisterous and just acted and then think later, like, and that is how my blood family is. And so I would come home and I would feel so lonely. I would feel like I didn't have any worth or any value. And that was something that I had to deal with me inside. And so what makes a person successful? You know, does it make a person successful because they wear all the right clothing and they say all the right words and they live the life that is what would be considered, you know, right now, socially the thing to do? Or are they like me? Are they plain and don't know much about the world and they are just who they are and they're happy with where they are in life? Success is so different now for me. See, for many years, my younger years, I thought success was looking the part, acting the part, living the part, having the high life and making sure you look that way. I thought that was what success was. And I never measured up to it. And I realized that success has nothing to do with what car you drive or all the rings on your fingers. Success is what makes you happy in life. And it doesn't have to do with anything materialistic. And so a lot of times people are lonely in their life because they're trying to be something that they can't be. And that is something I realized. All those years, I was trying to be something I couldn't be. I was trying to think, okay, how can I be part of this group or that group? For many years, I wanted to be somebody that was liked by everybody. If somebody didn't like me, I thought it was something wrong with me, a character flaw. And I realized that that's not successful. Successful doesn't mean that everybody's going to like you. And so I learned all these things, and I've become so assertive in my life. And while my siblings are still nothing like me, I'm okay with that. In fact, that's fine with me. You know, I don't need to have the recognition of them. I don't need to be recognized by people. I don't need to be, you know, talked to, or I don't need all of that anymore. And that was something, rejection was so hard for me, because rejection is something that a lot of adopted children face. But who doesn't want to be accepted? Everybody does. Everybody's against being rejected. It's not just an adopted thing, it's a thing for everybody. And when that person sent me the letter, the email, and he told me how his job was so, you know, what he did for a living. And he told me he was a flight attendant and that, you know, he worked many years at that. And I just thought that was really interesting, though. To me, that would be such a prestigious job. Like, that, to me, that would be like something like, well, of course, you know, that you got it all if you're doing that. You know, you got it all. But loneliness affects all of us, and it doesn't matter how rich you are or how poor you are. If you're lonely, you're lonely. And the sad thing is about our society today is the richest people in the world oftentimes are the loneliest, because they're trying to buy happiness, and they're trying to buy, friends, and they're trying to buy people like that, and it makes them even lonelier. And so I wanted to share with you today that success, maybe you're feeling a little lonely today about things in your life. Maybe you feel like you never quite measured up in your life. Maybe you're in your 60s and 70s and 80s. I want you to know you're very successful in life, and you did fill out your life. You did fill your calling, because you're becoming a kind person, and you are a loving person, and you're friends with people, and you share your life with people. And that is what makes us happy in life. These are lessons that I have learned, and I'm still learning. We've never come to the point where we say, well, we learned it all and we made it all. But yet, it's a learning process. And so, when I get together with family members who are nothing like me, none of them are anything like me, I'm no longer lonely anymore when I leave there. I understand that my life is not like their life, and nothing in my life would be interesting to them. And that's okay, because I realize that I focus on the people who do want to give their time and energy to me. I do focus on the people that are loving to me and who do love my lifestyle. And I focus my life on that. I don't focus so much on the people who don't seem to care in life, but I focus on the ones that really do care. And that has really blessed me. So many times if I would get a negative word, I've been going through this for years, I would stop the 1,000 good words and focus on that one bad word. Why did they say this about me? And now I realize that you guys taught me really well. You taught me things that I didn't learn as a child. My mother was not the kind of open person that would share a lot of life stories with me. We were just in our four walls. That was my life. And who knew that I was going to be out in the YouTube world? And so socially, I was so inadequate. Socially, I'm still inadequate, but not near as much as I used to be. When that camera turns on, I see all of you. Hi! I visualize all of you sitting in chairs behind me. And I visualize all of you and giving me the thumbs up and saying, Tessie, you can do it. I visualize all these things. And my life has never been lonely since, because I know that I may say something wrong or have a funny facial reaction to something, but you're all sitting right behind me. And all I see is smiles. And all I see is thumbs ups. Tessie, you can do it. And you know what, my friends? I want you to visualize me saying it back to all of you. You can do it. Thumbs ups, my friends. Thumbs ups. You are amazing people. And don't ever lose sight of the importance that you have in your life. So while I visualize all of you guys behind me, you can see me in front of you. And you can know that you are my family through good times and bad, through ups and downs. We are a family of friends, and we will always be together. Take care, everyone. We'll see you guys tomorrow.